The first thing they teach you in boxing is to keep your guard up. The first thing I learned in life? Sometimes the hit feels better than the waiting. The gym at the docks smells like rubber and old iron, like every promise I ever made to myself. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, one of them stuttering so hard it makes the ring look like a bad memory. Gloves thud. Rope squeaks. No one looks at me long enough to remember my face. That's the gift of training among betas. Eyes slide off you like sweat. No rank, no questions. Just the sound of leather on leather, and the thin taste of blood when I bite the inside of my cheek too hard. I'm 30, but the mirror says older. Sinew over bone. Bruises under the eyes like smudged charcoal. Not big, never big, but stacked tight. Every muscle wound for speed. Between rounds I do the thing I shouldn't. I pull a breath through my nose and measure the air. Rubber, dust, iron. Nothing else. The inhibitors are doing their job. My scent stays muffled, polite, forgettable. Good. I keep my head down, and my hands up. Again, my partner pants, a beta named Cole who hits like he's paying off a debt. I nod. Tap gloves. The bell rings. We move. I don't fight to win. I fight to stop feeling. It's the only time the world shrinks small enough to hold in my fist. The only time. I'm not listening for footsteps, or authority, or the wrong kind of attention. Hit, slip, breathe. My knuckles tick against Cole's guard. His jab kisses my cheekbone. Sharp, clean. The sting blooms and then fades, like I'm turning the volume dial down on my own body. Nice. Cole grunts. You're getting meaner. Maybe I'm just tired, I say, and the words fog in the cold. That's when the gym changes. No sound cue. No shouted warning. Just the sense of a door opening, and every conversation snagging on a nail. I feel it first, the hush, the grain of the air shifting, and then I see him. Tall. Broad shoulders under a dark jacket without any insignia. Clean lines, clean shoes. The kind of face that doesn't need a badge to make people stand straighter. He pauses one step inside, like he wants the room to decide what he is. It does, fast. Quiet ripples out to the corners. Even the flickering light steadies, like it's trying to impress him. My pulse ticks up. Not because I recognize him. Because I don't. Hey, the trainer calls. Uncertainty sanded off his voice. We're mid-round. The man's attention lifts to the ring. Finds me. Holds. It feels like getting hit without the courtesy of impact. He steps closer. Slow, like he's walking down thought-out stairs. Let me take a round. The trainer blinks at him. At the jacket. At the set of his mouth. Something in it says, authority so clean it squeaks. Sure, the trainer says. If Han's good with it. I set my mouth. I don't fight strangers. The man's gaze doesn't move off my face. He could be carved from the same concrete as the floor. Calm in a way that reads more like decision than mood. He speaks like he uses words sparingly, like each one has a cost. Then don't, he says. Just hit me once. Cole laughs, a little too loud. You don't want that, man. The stranger's expression doesn't change. He reaches for a pair of gym gloves, not his size, not broken in. He doesn't ask for wraps. He doesn't stretch. He pulls himself through the ropes with the unshowy grace of someone who knows what a body can do and isn't here to prove it to anyone. My throat goes dry. I'm aware of everything. The wet spot on the canvas near my right foot. The buzzing lamp. The small lift and drop of the stranger's chest. No rank scent rolls off him, just soap and cold air. Either he's suppressing, or he's just that contained. Han, the trainer says, warning in my name. I shrug, put my mouthguard back in. One shot, I tell the stranger. Then you get off my ring. Agreed. His voice finds an edge of humor so thin you could cut bandages with it. Hit me. We square. He brings his hands up but not high. Not a boxer's guard. More like he's bracing for weather. I circle left, footwork light. He turns with me, not crossing his feet, just matching. He watches my shoulders, not my gloves. That's what throws me. The way his eyes move like a metronome in a quiet room. No hunger. No taunt. Assessment. I feint. He doesn't bite. I flick a jab to test range. He tilts away like he knew the beat before I threw it. Not fast, aware. I can feel the gym leaning in without looking at anyone. The ring is a bowl holding us, sounds sloshing against its edges. Anytime, he says, almost gentle. My cheeks heat. Pride itches under my skin. Just once. Get it done. I step in, step out, step in again and snap a right cross that should clip his jaw, not break anything, just rinse this off me. He slips it by breathing. No joke. He just lets the punch pass like he opened a door for it. My glove slices air. I feel stupid. I feel seen. He doesn't throw back. I reset, hook to the body, shallow and mean. He angles his hips and takes it on that quiet strip of muscle above the belt, letting it drain. He exhales through his nose. Still nothing in return. What is this? I ask around my mouthguard, breath burning a little. You a wall? Maybe. His eyes are steady. Green, I realize. But not the soft kind. Bottle glass. Maybe I'm listening. To what? His mouth curves a millimeter. To you. It's a psychological test, that's obvious now, not a fight. I feel the old familiar itch under my ribs, the animal part of me that wants to flash teeth and make a point. I keep it leashed. I keep it leashed because I've taught myself 100 times that impulse is how they find you. I go upstairs, jab jab cross, then pivot and come back with a left that forces him to move. He does, but I catch him, a graze to the jaw that says I'm not decoration. His head turns. His eyes stay on mine. Something almost like approval ghosts through them. It hits harder than it should. We breathe. The world narrows to the white of the ropes. The tack of resin on the canvas, the taste of tin. He still doesn't swing. Why me? I ask. You pick a guy in every gym? No. He rolls his shoulders once. An economy of motion that says he doesn't need much to be dangerous. Just the ones who look like they're arguing with themselves. I snort. You talk like someone who's never been hunted. And you hit like someone who's tired of hiding. The words go through me cleaner than any punch tonight. They land where the inhibitors can't reach. The room comes back in pieces. Trainer's breath, Cole's whisper, water bottle clacking plastic against plastic. I feel the ligament in my right wrist complain. I feel the prickle of sweat cool under the collar of my shirt. He's standing in front of me, and the feeling isn't threat. It's pressure in a shape I recognize, like a hand on a door that's stayed shut too long. One more, I say, because I don't know what else to do. Then, you're done. His chin dips. Invitation. I step in, sell the jab. Sink my weight in my legs and throw a straight. That travels the way it's supposed to. No anger, no flourish, just a line. He doesn't avoid it this time. He meets it. Not with his face, with his feet. He absorbs the force through his frame, lets it run through him into the floor. My fist lands. Not hard. Hard enough. The sound is small and honest. We stand inside the echo. Got it, he says, voice low, not triumphant. He tilts his head the barest degree, as if he's learned something that has nothing to do with me, and everything to do with the shape I make in this ring. Thank you. I pull back, gloves heavy. The bell never rang, but the round is over. I know it. He knows it. He steps away first, like it's a courtesy. He slides between the ropes without taking his eyes off me. The trainer exhales like he's been holding his lungs since the door opened. You done, Han? I take my mouthguard out. My tongue tastes like mint and metal. Yeah. The stranger speaks to the trainer without looking. Appreciate the ring. Then to me, in a voice that lands like a pad catching a well-thrown punch, I'll see you around. Don't count on it, I say. He almost smiles. Almost. Then he leaves, the door closing behind him with the soft certainty of a judge's gavel. I strip my gloves off and drop them on the canvas. The noise of the gym returns in a rush, the bag chains, the radio, Cole's breath hitching like a bad engine. I hop down to the floor, and walk past the water cooler. Past the posters that promise glory to kids who think pain is a currency you can spend without paying interest. I don't say goodbye. Outside, the night sits cold on my skin. I take a breath, just to prove I can feel it, and catch the same neutral air I trained myself to live in. No fear rides up with it. For the first time in months, maybe years, there's something else, anger that tastes clean, like rain rinsing a city, and threaded through it, thin and undeniable as a pulse. Attraction. I shove my hands into my pockets and start walking. I tell myself I'm leaving him behind. But my body already knows the truth. I'm not running. I'm being followed by something I didn't plan to want. I don't pack much when I move gyms. Wraps, mouthguard, the same threadbare hoodie, and a small amber bottle that costs more than rent. The label's peeled back at the corner from how often I thumb it. The liquid inside smells like nothing. That's the point. I keep it in an inside pocket where body heat turns it into a quiet you can wear. I switch places every few nights. There's the boxing club above the laundromat where the dryers sing under. The floor and hot lint drifts through the vents like summer snow. There's the fitness center that used to be a church. The stained glass windows are plywood now, but the light still hits the ring in a way that feels like confession. There's a garage where someone bolted heavy bags to a steel beam and called it a training business. You pay cash, you don't ask who else does. I tell myself, I'm not running. I'm rerouting. I trade one set of eyes for another like I'm rotating sparring partners. It works until I make the mistake of listening to my own head. I'm not running from the law. I'm running from the people who decide what I am. Rain moves through the city in slow veils, polishing the alleys, pooling along the curb. I time my walks to the weather. Water is good cover, it pulls scent down and dilutes it, chalks the air with clean edges. The pharmacy 2 blocks over keeps the inhibitors behind the counter. The girl who works nights is new and has glitter on her cheek and she doesn't. It looked twice when I slide the prescription across and say, refill. She still uses 2 hands to set the bottle down, like she knows it's medicine for things no one talks about. You okay? She asks, because some people can't help themselves. Training, I say. I bruise easy. She smiles a small, sympathetic smile. Try arnica. Sure. I put the bottle away before the shape of her pity becomes a smell I have to swallow. When the rain slackens, I cut across the courtyard of an old public housing block to reach the garage gym. The courtyard used to hold a playground, now it's concrete, scarred where the slide bolts used to be. Someone hung a heavy bag from an iron stairwell by a chain. It's real leather, old and cracked, filled with sand that's settled into corners. The first time I hit it, a dusting of grit fell like a sigh. Tonight the courtyard smells like wet stone. I hang my hoodie on the railing, tape my hands, breathe the careful, controlled breaths you learn when panic used to be a roommate. The inhibitors dull my edges until there's just rubber and rain and the ghost of metal under my tongue. I touch the bag. I don't ask who hung it or why. Not every gift is a trap. Cross, hook, 2 up the middle. My shoulders warm, pain finding its place as background music. You wore that hoodie yesterday. The voice is soft leather. It lands like a palm on the center of my back. I stop moving because my body does it for me. He's leaning against the wall where the stairwell shades into a darker slice of night. No jacket this time. Gray trousers, black turtleneck, black gloves like he's cold or careful. He looks like a line drawing someone forgot to color in. New gym? He asks. I go back to the bag to make the choice look like I made it. New route. New mistake, he says, and there's humor in it, not triumph. The rain makes a sound like frying oil in the gutter. He pushes off the wall and steps closer. But not enough to change the air. You always show up alone? I say. No backup, no badge. You auditioning for a ghost? He tilts his head, as if considering a word he hasn't used before. Just making sure I'm the only thing you have to look at. Flattering. I jab 3 times. The bag rocks, swings back. You want something, or you just here to sightsee? He watches my footwork. He's good at looking without touching. Hit me. I snort. You've got a weird hobby, Agent. Merrick, he says, like I asked. He doesn't, as far as I can tell, have any interest in being anything but himself out loud. Hit me. The first one was free, I tell him. You're gonna have to start paying. I did, he says mildly. I paid attention. The rain makes the city smaller. My ribs lift and fall, neat and even. I roll my wrists to test the tape. He's not close enough for me to smell anything but soap and a trace of clean cotton. If he's suppressing, he's better at it than most. The turtleneck makes his shoulders look like cliffs. You sure? I ask. I don't want to break your evening wear. I brought gloves, he says, and produces a pair from his coat pocket like a magic trick. Thin, cheap, wrong size again. He's consistent. We make our own ring in the concrete where the light puddles. He keeps his hands low, and I hate that my muscles know him now. I hate that I like how he refuses the obvious. He's careful with his body the way I wish I could be with mine. I test him. Tap the outside of his lead knee with my foot. He checks it with a tiny shift that tells me he's been watching fighters long enough to learn the small grammar. I fake a hook and drop a jab down the pipe. He turns his head and lets it brush his cheek with the polish of a near miss. Are you learning, I ask, or just collecting pieces of me? Both can be true. His voice is warm under the cool. He looks like he sleeps in a tidy apartment where the only messy thing is the unread books beside his bed. The thought arrives without permission and leaves a sting like hitting the bag wrong. I step in and tap him on the chest with 2 quick shots, enough to feel resistance, not enough to bruise. He takes them clean, the way he takes a sentence, listens first. His eyes find mine and hold. Something in my sternum loosens, a knot I tied so long ago I forgot it was mine. What do you do when you're not pretending to be a wall? I ask, because the words come out before I can build a filter big enough. He doesn't blink. I make sure people don't get hurt. I laugh without joy. We both know that's not true. I make sure fewer people get hurt, he amends. Sometimes that's the same thing. We move. He's reading my shoulders again. I force a beat change and switch stance southpaw, just to mess with his metronome. It works. I catch him with a left he doesn't see, a clean kiss to the jaw that opens his lip. Not deep. Enough to mark. Blood beads up, bright and precise. He touches it with his glove and looks at the red like it's data. Then his mouth does that almost smile, quick and private. Progress, he says. On what? Admitting I can't keep everything tidy. I pause. Because I hear the loneliness in it. Not the loud, obvious kind. The kind that wears discipline like a suit and calls it enough. The rain slows to a finer stitch. The courtyard holds us the way the ring did. A bowl, a boundary, a dare. We keep it going until my shoulders start to sing from the weight of my own arms. Then I stop it. I make the choice and I step back, hands falling. He doesn't chase the moment. He doesn't fill the quiet with more than he has to. You're not the only one pretending, he says, matter of fact, like weather. He wipes his mouth with the back of his glove. The red smears into a thin line and vanishes into the dark. I know what it's like to make yourself small enough to fit someone else's rules. My teeth rest on the edge of my mouthguard. I imagine the sound a badge makes when it closes inside a drawer. Next time I say, because I don't know what to do with the truth of it, bring coffee. He nods once. How do you take it? Like a fight, I say. Hot and clean. Noted. He peels the cheap gloves off and tucks them into his pocket. The gesture is domestic, ridiculous. Strangely endearing. He glances up at the apartments. A light goes on, then off, as if the building blinked. The city exhales. The chain overhead creaks as the bag finds stillness. New gym tomorrow? He asks. New route, I say again. Softer this time. Because the word doesn't feel like armor anymore. It feels like an apology to no one. He steps back into shadow and leaves the courtyard the way he entered it. A subtraction you feel in the bones, not the eyes. I stand there with rain silvering my knuckles and the quiet pressing all the way through. The next gym is bright and ugly. All mirrors and stale peppermint from the front desk. I pick the bag farthest from the door and work the basics until sweat makes maps down my spine. I'm careful with my breath. I'm careful with the part of me that wants to open my mouth and drag the world in. He finds me anyway. Of course he does. He appears in the reflection first. A shape in the edge of the mirror where the glass wobbles. No jacket. Just the same gray and black, like a chess piece that refuses to change rank. New gym? He says. I shake my head at our script, and a laugh slides up out of me without permission. It feels rusty, like something old and loved dragged out of storage. New mistake. The desk clerk pretends not to stare. Merrick watches me throw 10 clean crosses and raise my heart rate until I can hear the motor of it over the music. I could ask him why he bothers. I could tell him to leave. I don't. I let him be gravity. I swing until the bag and I agree about where center is. When I stop, he hands me a paper cup with a lid warm through. Coffee. Black. No sugar. I look at it, then at him. You stalk all your hobbies this thoroughly. Just the ones that make sense in my head, he says. And do I? You make sense, he says. Where it matters. I shouldn't drink it. I do. It tastes exactly like he looks, neat, with a bitter edge that promises more if you let it. Heat unfolds in my chest. The mirror shows me 2 men who don't fit where they were put, and keep meeting anyway. We step outside, under the overhang, to let a new burst of rain pass. Water flames off the asphalt in the street lights. He holds his hands in his pockets like he doesn't trust them not to reach for something. I stand with mine empty for once. Why not arrest me? I ask. Because dancing around the question makes my skin itch. You show up. You don't cuff me. You don't even lecture. He looks at the rain, then at me. His face does that controlled relaxation, lines softening by degrees. Because I want to see what you do when no one is telling you what to be. That's not your job. No, he agrees. It's my choice. I roll that around, find the sharp edges, decide they're mine to keep. The rain eases. We don't say goodbye. It becomes its own language. Back at the courtyard that night, I work the bag until my shoulders buzz and my lungs feel scrubbed. The chain creaks. The iron stairs drip. The bottle in my pocket warms against my ribs, and I don't reach for it. Not yet. When I finally leave, the street smells like hot concrete and petrichor. My reflection in the shop window looks like someone I might learn to recognize. I catch myself smiling at nothing, which isn't nothing at all. He isn't hunting my weakness. He's checking whether he can carry his own. And for the first time, I hope he can. The gym hums like a tired machine long after closing. One bulb over the ring flickers, buzzing in rhythm with the rain hitting the roof. The air smells like canvas, sweat, and disinfectant. Ghosts of all the rounds fought and lost here. I shouldn't be here this late. Which is exactly why I am. Then I hear it. A glove brushing against the heavy bag. Too controlled to be random. I round the corner, and stop. He's here. Merrick. In my ring. He's stripped down to a gray undershirt, gloves crooked, stance uneven but determined. His movements are deliberate, if not exactly correct. He jabs too straight, doesn't rotate his hip, but the rhythm, it's there. The sound of effort, the small grunt of breath, the thud against the bag. It lands with an honesty that hits deeper than skill. I lean on the ropes. Who let you in? He glances over his shoulder without pausing. You left the door unlocked. Maybe on purpose. I snort. You break into every gym you visit, or am I just lucky? He lands another punch, better this time, then straightens, breathing steady. You said I should bring coffee next time. I did. It's on the counter. Getting cold? I glance toward the paper cups by the wall. 2. Steam still curling from 1. Persistent, aren't you? Occupational hazard. He removes the gloves, sets them neatly aside. His wrists are bruised, new faint marks that don't belong to someone who spends his nights behind a desk. Teach me, he says. Teach you what? How to break into more gyms. He steps closer, not close enough to touch, but near enough that I feel the shift in air. How to take a hit. That throws me. I raise an eyebrow. You're built like a wall. He doesn't smile. Just looks at me, calm and serious. Walls crack too. I could say no, should say no, but something in his tone makes me grab my gloves anyway. Fine. But I'm not responsible for your medical bills. I signed the waiver when I joined the human race. Cute, I mutter, circling him. Let's see if you can keep your chin down, hero. He tries to mimic my stance, knees slightly bent, hands loose. Too loose. I tap his shoulder. He flinches. Barely, but enough. See? That's your first mistake, I say. You flinch before it lands. Instinct. Control it. I jab once, light. He blinks but doesn't move. I jab again, faster. This time he exhales, lets it brush his guard. Better. Good, I say. Now, don't block, just absorb. Let the motion go through you. He nods, expression focused, eyes on mine. For a moment, there's only the sound of our breathing. Then I step in and hit him clean across the ribs. Not hard, just enough to test. He takes it, doesn't stumble. Just breathes through it the way I do. That's when I realize. He's been watching me, learning. Every move. Again, he says, so I do. Another hit. Another breath. Another inch closer. The space between us narrows, pulse to pulse. The sound of rain outside fills the silence we don't break. I can smell the faint trace of soap, coffee, and something else. Heat caught under control. Not alpha, not official. Just him. He catches my wrist mid-swing, lightly. Not to stop me. To steady himself. The contact is brief, warm, human. Enough, I say, stepping back before the silence turns into something neither of us is ready for. He lets go immediately. Noted. I strip the gloves and toss them aside. You're not bad, I admit. For a desk job. Flattery, he says. Dangerous habit. Don't worry. I'm better at insults. He picks up his jacket, slips it on without hurry. I'll survive. I grab the paper cup from the counter and take a sip. It's bitter and hot. This isn't coffee, it's asphalt. It's honest, he says, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. Like you. Now that's flattery. I interrogate with compliments. I laugh. It's small but real. That your official method? It works better than handcuffs, he says. Then pauses, realizing what that sounded like. His lips twitch. Most of the time, we leave the gym together, stepping out into the alley behind it. Rain drips off the fire escape. The streetlight buzzes, throwing gold into the puddles. We end up walking under the bridge, where the small cafe sits open all night, half lit, the hum of an old radio inside. A tired man behind the counter nods without looking up. Merrick orders 2 coffees without asking. Again. I sink into the booth opposite him, arms crossed. You always decide for people? Only when they take too long. The cups arrive, chipped and warm. I wrap my hands around mine. The smell is grounding. The silence between us is thick but not uncomfortable. Like static before a song. You smell like metal and rain, he says suddenly. His tone is flat, almost clinical, but the way his eyes flick to mine gives it away. It suits you. I raise an eyebrow. You flirt like a cop. I interrogate with compliments. That's twice you've said that. Repetition makes truth. I chuckle into my cup. So what's the question this time, detective? He looks at me, over the rim of his coffee. Why hide what you are? The words hit harder than any punch. I don't look up right away. Because people like to decide what that means. You think I'm one of them? I think you're trying not to be. He leans back, letting the chair creak. I work for a system that's broken. Doesn't mean I have to live like it. Something tight in me loosens. I left because I couldn't breathe, I say before I can stop myself. He doesn't look surprised. Just steady. Then don't hold your breath around me. I stare at him. The cafe hums with rain and the low murmur of the radio. My chest feels strange, not heavy, but unfamiliar, like I've been carrying armor so long I forgot the weight of skin. You talk too much, I say finally. You listen too well. He finishes his coffee, folds a napkin with quiet precision, and stands. I should go, late night surveillance? Something like that. He pulls a card from his pocket. Not a business one. His badge. Only it's old, scuffed. And when he sets it on the table, I see that he's scratched something into the back. Don't flinch. By the time I look up, he's already walking out into the rain. No umbrella, no hurry. Just that steady rhythm that's more thought than motion. I stare at the badge for a long moment, then pick it up. The metal's warm from his hand. Too late, I whisper. The rain outside keeps playing its slow percussion, like applause meant for someone who's already left. The commission building is mostly glass, so it can pretend to be invisible. From my block you see it if you tilt your head in the right kind of rain. Just a pale reflection stacked on the sky. I don't go there. I don't even walk on the side of the street that points toward it. Tonight, the city is rinsed thin. My room is a square of peeling paint and clean edges. I keep it the way you keep a wound, covered, quiet, under control. The bottles sit in a line on the shelf, tape, pain gel, the amber one that makes me smell like a rumor no one can repeat. I touch none of them. The rain already does half the job. The stairwell coughs when someone takes it slow. Boots, not rushed. I don't tense. I harden. There's a difference. I unlatch the door and leave it open. If it's trouble, it can walk in like it owns the place. Don't have anything worth stealing, I say to the hallway. A voice I already know answers, steady as a held breath. Good. I didn't bring a bag. Merrick? He steps inside. No badge. No jacket. His hair is wet and darker for it, his shirt clinging in honest places. He closes the door with 2 fingers, and looks around like he's learning a map he already knows by heart. Small, he says. Not judging. Easier to clean, I say. Which is true of rooms and lives. He's holding a thin, rain-spotted envelope. He doesn't lift it yet. He looks at me first, and I hate that I recognize the look, the one you use when you've already made a decision, and you're about to say it out loud so it becomes real. Someone filed a tip, he says. Anonymous. Unregistered Omega. Male. Boxer. Clause 47A for non-compliance. The clause for resistance, I say. Because I read more than people assume I do. Yes. We stand there with the rain pretending to be silence on the window. The bulb hums. The building holds its breath. I should leave now, I say. You'll feel better if I make it easy. He doesn't move. Laws don't save people, he says quietly, as if he's trying the sentence on his tongue for the first time. They just decide who's worth saving. The envelope looks heavier in his hand. He sets it on the chip table like it might bruise. I don't touch it. I don't touch him. I just let the air between us do the counting. You knew what I was the first night, I say. Not a question. Yes. And you said nothing? I wanted to see who you'd be without the label, he answers. If you could breathe without it. Did it help? I ask. Watching me pretend to be small? His jaw flexes. Beneath the neat, the discipline, there's a pulse of something hot and human. No. I laugh once. It sounds like it forgot how. You lied to me. So did you, he says, and he's not wrong. You said it didn't matter who I was. You said you didn't care who I was, I return. That's different. Is it? The room fills with a pressure shaped like a question. If it had weight, it would be the exact measure of the envelope. He slides a single sheet out, a warrant, printed neat. The kind of paper that thinks it can decide the shape of a life. My name is there. A black line that doesn't belong to me. He holds it up between us, like a thin, ugly flag. Last chance, I say. I don't know which one of us I'm giving it to. Merrick tears it in half. Not dramatic. Not a performance. Just hands doing what his voice has already done. He keeps ripping until it strips, then confetti, then something the rain can dissolve if I open the window. Paper sticks to his fingers. He looks at it like it's a bad habit he finally quit. You just lost your job, I say. I've lost worse by doing nothing, he answers. At least this I chose. The words land somewhere behind my ribs and start a soft, destructive work. I breathe around them. It doesn't hurt, it just rearranges. The room tilts for a second, and steadies. The flashback I try not to watch clears its throat anyway. 5 years ago, different gym, hotter lights. The alpha behind me doesn't wear a badge, he wears a grin. Loosen it, he says. Voice sweet with victory he hasn't earned. Just a little. Give them a taste. He means the inhibitors. He means me. I do it. Because obedience used to be oxygen. The crowd hears it before they smell it. The ripple that becomes a wave when I walk through it. The roar that steals my name and gives me a category. I win that fight. The next one I don't. Loss smells different on an Omega. It makes some people hungry. He drags me out by the wrist and says I'm not worth the dosage. I leave with nothing but my breath held so hard, it bruises my throat from the inside. The memory folds itself back up. The rain keeps time. Merrick is pacing now, but only a step or two, like a man in a phone booth practicing a confession he wants to get right. He stops where the light paints a thin bar across the floor. I can't undo the part where I followed you, he says. But I can stop now. You won't get a commendation. I don't need one. We look at each other the way two boxers do in the 5th round. Honest, tired, not interested in lying about what hurts. You came to arrest me, I say, voice lower than the bulb's hum. I was supposed to, he says. And now? Now I'm here. He doesn't step closer. He doesn't ask me to. He stands steady and lets the choice be mutual. I cross the floor. The chips of ripped paper whisper under my feet. When I stop in front of him, I can feel the heat coming off his skin through the wet of his shirt. Not alpha, not an order, just a man in a room who hasn't figured out what to do with both hands, so he's using them to not reach for me. I raise my fingers and touch his jaw, light as a question. His stubble is new and real. He doesn't flinch. You wanted the truth? I ask. Only if you want to give it, he says. I'm tired of running. Then stop. It isn't a promise. It's not surrender. It's a thing that exists between those two. Consent. If you came to arrest me, I say, and my thumb traces the corner of his mouth, do it. I wait long enough to feel the shape of the silence. If you came for me. His mouth moves on the last 2 words with mine. Don't flinch. The rain widens, as if someone pulled a curtain of water all the way across the city. For a while, we let it speak for both of us. His forehead touches mine briefly, not an embrace, just a point of contact we both decided to believe in. The part of me that measures air puts the ruler down. Later I sweep the paper into the trash, and leave the window cracked so the rain can do the rest. He stands with his palms on the sill, shoulders set like a man ready to take weight that isn't his and carry it anyway. Tomorrow, he says quietly, like we're telling the room, not each other. Dawn, I answer. The ring? He nods. No badge. No rules. Just choice. When he leaves, my room stays the same size. I don't. The city keeps its glass teeth. My breath doesn't stick on them this time. Outside, somewhere I can almost see, the commission building reflects the sky and calls it virtue. In here the air tastes like rust and rain, and something that might be mine if I don't let anyone name it for me. The gym is never truly silent, even at the hour when the city forgets its own name. The old speaker in the corner leaks a thread of music, something soft and instrumental that sounds like it's been traveling for years to get here. Dust hangs in the cones of the overhead lamps, turned gold by the suggestion of a sunrise pressing at the frosted windows. The ring waits, ropes slack with sleep. I climb through, slow, feeling the tack of resin under my shoes, the familiarity of a square that has always been a compass. My wrap is tight, my breath easy. In the quiet I can hear the soft grind of the door, and the sound of a body I already know moving across the floor like a decision. Merrick steps into the light. No badge, no jacket, dark track pants, a plain t-shirt, wrists taped the way I taught him. He takes a second under the rope and looks at me with a face unarmed. "Last round," he says, stepping inside. His voice is low enough to keep the dust from stirring. No ranks, no rules. I nod because there's nothing else left worth saying. We meet center ring. The ropes creak like an old boat as we move. He brings his hands up, chin tucked better than the first night. I test the distance. A tap in the air, nothing meant to land, just to locate us. He calibrates to my feet, not my fists. It makes me smile, small and private. He's learned me. We circle. The music sighs and the building breathes. When we finally step in, it's like falling into a conversation we've been having under our breath for weeks. I work the basics first. Jab, slip, jab. He lets them brush his guard, remembering not to swat at flies. His exhale is measured. I drop a hook toward the body. He angles away and absorbs it on the shelf of his rib, just enough to remind us we're here. He doesn't rush to give anything back. He's never been here to win. Too gentle? He asks, the corner of his mouth traveling one notch toward humor. Practicing honesty, I say. It's new. We trade small truths anyway. A straight down the middle that lands light. A brush of contact that shivers through shoulder and spine. We're not looking for proof. We're mapping where the ghosts used to live. He reads me when I faint high, doesn't bite, and I feel a spark of something like pride and something like ache where they meet. I step in to close the air between us. He holds his ground. That's new too. The first heavier shot is mine. A cross that lands with a modest thud on his chest. He rides it through his frame to the floor, softening the blow like water does to a stone. He answers with a short, careful hook, a tap that says I see you, not I own you. It travels across the top of my guard and lingers without sting. We move. The ring is a bowl holding our noise. Sweat opens on our skin in small, honest blooms. His breath goes a fraction rough, and mine follows it, a mirror fogging at the same time. When I drop to southpaw to play with his rhythm, he laughs, actually laughs. And I feel a piece of my sternum unhook. Show off, he says. Students getting cocky, I return. We keep it there. A gentle escalator, not a climb. Each step a choice we both see and consent to. My fists start talking in the grammar he's learned. His body answers in a dialect I've begun to understand. When he clips my jaw clean, not hard, just precise, the flash is white and sweet, like biting into peppermint. I grin. He does too. The grin sits wrong on his face, and right at the same time, like a habit he wants to want. The old speaker flattens a note and recovers. Beyond the windows, the sky changes temperature, the blue warming by a single degree. It's enough to make me remember that all of this exists when roomfuls of people are awake to ruin it. Why here? I ask inside an exchange, a question folded between a jab and a parry. Because this is where you can hear yourself, he says. You're not afraid of the echo? Only if it lies. We thread another series. I angle him toward the ropes and he lets me, not as concession but as trust. I touch his shoulder with my glove, and he steadies where most men sway. For a moment, we stand so near I can feel the hum of his focus, a low wire current. Not a scent, exactly. He's too careful for that and so am I. But something genuine that the inhibitors can't bankrupt. It's the temperature where two bodies agree to be human at the same time. I step back first. He lowers his hands a fraction, enough to look like himself answering a door. You wanted a confession? I ask, breath easy but heart outpacing reason. The thought as old as the ring, and as new as the morning. Only if you want to give it, he says. I look at his mouth and decide against looking at his eyes. I'm tired of running. He nods. Not a ceremony, not a rescue. Just a simple piece of recognition passed hand to hand. Then stop. We don't touch for a long moment. We just stand there with our hands down, learning what space feels like when nobody's stealing it. There are things I could say and choose not to. How a man once used me as an instrument in a song that wasn't mine. How the crowd's roar sounded like a love letter until it didn't. How I swallowed down parts of myself like pills without water, and pretended the burn was just another kind of training. None of it belongs in the air right now. The body already knows. The body keeps better records than the mind. We sit by the ropes almost at the same time. The way you do when your feet agree before your mouths do. The canvas prints a faint diamond pattern into the back of my thighs through the fabric. The speaker sighs towards silence, and then remembers the track. The dust settles again. Merrick draws one knee up and braces his forearm across it, the line of his wrist tape neat as a ruled page. He glances at me and then away, like he's practicing leaving instead of doing it. I could still fix this, he says, not to convince me. Maybe to test the weight of the lie. Walk back in, and say I was wrong. You'd be lying, I say. And I'd be following you back into a room where I can't breathe. He closes his eyes a beat, opens them with something softer in their center. Right. We listen to the building for a while. Pipes talk. The city makes morning promises outside and breaks some of them before they're finished forming. It's so quiet in the ring that I can hear his pulse when he shifts. Not the sound exactly, but the idea of it. The small, steady insistence. When I was a kid, I say, the story picking me more than the other way around. I used to pretend the ropes were borders, not to keep anyone out. To keep me in. I huff a laugh I don't owe. Then I got old enough to realize that's the same thing, on a different day. He doesn't interrupt. He's learned the difference between listening and waiting to speak. Technically, I add, because the wait is getting dangerous, and I'd like us both to live through this. I did punch a government officer. Technically, Merrick says, without missing the lane change. I let you. Repeatedly. So we're both idiots, I say. Mutual crime, he agrees. We look at each other like we've just negotiated a treaty that reads more like a dare. He reaches for his water bottle and offers it out. I take it, not because I need water, but because my hand wants to be where his hand was a second ago. The mouth of the bottle tastes like plastic and a promise. I keep thinking about the first time, he says, voice level. How you threw the punch like you were trying to answer yourself. And you took it like you were trying to ask one, I say. He smiles, small and unguarded. We are getting good at this, passing simple truths without setting the room on fire. He stands first, then offers me a hand. Not the way you haul someone up when they've fallen. The way you start a dance neither of you knows yet, but both of you want to learn. No contracts, he says, as if reading the thought in my jaw. Just choice. His palm is open. Clean. Waiting. My fingers know what they're doing before my doubts can assemble. I slide my hand into his and feel the tiny resist of skin, the catch and give. He pulls just enough to bring me to my feet. We stand close enough that our breaths collaborate. For the first time I hear myself say, the words building themselves. In the part of my chest that used to store alarms, I didn't flinch. He exhales. The smallest smile. It feels like a sunrise found its way inside the building without asking. I expect my body to panic when the choice sits there, big and room-filling. It doesn't. The bottle in my pocket where the inhibitors live, is a weight I don't need right now. The air tastes like sweat and dust, and the first hour of a day I didn't think I'd get. Do you have anywhere to be? He asks. Here, I say, and it's the easiest truth I've spoken in a decade. We clean up the ring. It's practical, almost domestic. I coil a hand wrap while he straightens a stool, and we both pretend not to notice what it looks like to move around each other without thinking. The speaker pops and dies, and then revives long enough to limp through the end of the track. He checks the windows like a habit he can't shake. I check the corners of the canvas like I could find the thin spot where I always fell through. When we finally step down to the floor, the light outside has lifted, enough to paint a thin strip of gold across the tops of the lockers. Dust freckles it. His shoulders look broader in the daylight, mine less sharp. We're two men in a room that doesn't ask for a story first. By the door, my hand finds his sleeve without a plan. He looks at me, steady as a held breath. I don't pull him anywhere. I don't need to. He's already here. We walk outside. Morning has rinsed the alley. Puddles mirror the world imperfectly, which feels like the most honest thing I've ever seen. In one of them, the ring's window sits upside down, catching a slice of sky. The sun finds our gloves and throws back a quiet flare like a benediction. I tip my face into the new light and let it print itself across my eyelids. The warmth pools and overflows. Slow as acceptance. Beside me, Merrick's hand bumps mine, not a request, just a location, and stays where it landed. I let our knuckles touch. It feels like putting a marker on a map that always tried to erase me. I think of all the doors I've stood behind and all the air I measured before walking through. And how none of it prepared me for the way this feels, not captured, not cornered, chosen. He didn't come to catch me. He came to stay.